Hey, congratulations, you got your offer accepted. They accepted your $450,000 offer, but then you had your inspection done and it's going to need $25,000 worth of repairs. Now what? Most buyers blow this part of the conversation and it costs them thousands of dollars. We're going to dig into the strategy around how to negotiate repairs. How to, when to, what to ask for, how to ask for it, all in this week's Mortgage Toddcast. Thanks for joining us. First, we need to understand what the inspection period actually is. It's that 3 to 7 day window right in the very beginning where you can renegotiate to get some repairs done. To be honest, it's the last time that you can negotiate price in this whole transaction. Early on you could, and right now. But let's understand what it is you need to be looking for and how you need to approach these negotiations. How much leverage you actually have depends on several items. It depends on the market itself. Is it a buyer's or seller's market? Is there multiple offers on the same property? Your best leverage comes when it's a buyer's market and you're realistic about what your ask is. So understand that going in. Also understand that there's two major types of repairs that could come up in a home inspection. The big ones, the structural or engineering repairs, and then the cosmetic repairs. And if you approach this in such a way that you are having to deal with structural type issues, then obviously those could be big dollars. You're going to have some leverage in those situations. But even the cosmetic repairs could save you thousands if you approach it correctly. Remember, when you're negotiating during the inspection process, it's not about squeezing every dime out of that seller. It's about getting the home you thought enough of to put an offer in on at a fair market price. You go with that attitude, you're going to win in this, and you could save thousands. So when you're negotiating, there are 3 strategies you can take. The first strategy is the repair strategy, meaning you're going to ask the seller to repair the most important things that came back on your inspection report and have them fix them. They're going to spend time prior to closing and funding and selling you their property, getting these things repaired so they meet your request. Now, let me give you the pros to it. The pros to it is you don't have to do the repairs. They're handling it all, and it's happening before you move in. The downside, these repairs normally don't get done the way you would do them as a home buyer, the way you would want them done, especially for your own home. So maybe they did them a little cheaper than you would have, or didn't do them to the full extent that you would have done them. That's the downside. The upside, no hassle. You're not having to mess with it. You're not having to manage contractors. The downside is you don't have a voice in how those are getting done. So that's the first strategy, the repair strategy. The second strategy is the credit strategy. You've got your laundry list of things that need to be done. You could ask for just a seller credit towards closing cost. The upside, you get to repair the things that are most important to you after you close, and they're giving you money at closing to do that. Now, that money's not coming as cash in hand, but it's going to reduce your closing cost. So in theory, you will have that money left over to take care of those repairs. That's the upside, is the most important repairs get done, and you get to oversee how they're completed and if it's done in such a way that is suitable for you and your family. The downside, you've got to manage the repairs after closing. So the house isn't going to have those things completed prior to you moving in. Well, at least prior to you closing. A lot of folks do it from after they close on the house and they own it. They'll do it before they move in that week or 2 period or day or 2 period, depending on what the repairs are. So this is a pretty common strategy. Strategy 3 really happens when it's some major repairs, structural type issues, safety issues. things like that. And it's a reduction in sales price strategy. So instead of asking them to fix something, instead of asking them to give you funds to fix something, you're asking them to reduce the sales price because you're going to have to get these things fixed. These are typically not putting an extra coat of paint on siding that might be peeling. These are things like the balcony has no railing. These are safety type issues, or there's roof issues or things like that. Now, let me give you a little caveat here. If you're getting a mortgage, your lender is going to require you to address any structural type repairs before closing. Meaning, if it needs a new roof or it has foundation issues, you can't fix those later. You're going to have to fix those prior to closing, which means this reduction in sales price probably isn't the best option. You'll need to go back up to either having the seller take care of it. That's really your only option, having the seller take care of it prior to closing, because the investor is going to require that to happen. So those are the three strategies. Let's hit on them one more time. You can either ask the seller to fix it. You can ask for a credit at closing cost at closing, or you can ask for a price reduction of the sales price. All three strategies have a place and a time, and we're going to talk a little bit about when and what would be best for your situation. One last point. When you're asking for your repairs, always ask for the things that are most important. Safety issues first. It's not a bad idea to throw a few cosmetic things in, because everyone wants to feel like they're winning. So if the seller feels like, hey, you asked me to do these major things and these 6 other things, if I can negotiate and only do 3 of those cosmetic type things, they feel good about the situation. You got what you wanted done, actually. Just know that you're not buying a brand new home. You're buying an existing home that's going to have some things. I tell buyers all the time, you're going to get a laundry list of things that are wrong with your house, and it can be overwhelming and make you feel like this is a terrible house. The reality is this: that inspector's job is to find any little thing wrong. You're buying a pre-owned home. It's going to have some things wrong, most of which are just cosmetic. It's not a big deal. So keep that in mind. When you ask for important things, maybe throw a few things in that you know they may not do, so they feel like they've negotiated and you haven't dictated everything that happened. And don't have the expectation that the house is going to look and feel brand new after this negotiation. That's not the purpose of the negotiation. The purpose is to get you a safe home at a fair price. Okay, let's talk a minute about how to ask for these negotiations. So we've talked about the different ways you can ask or what you can ask for, but let's talk about physically how you're going to ask for these repairs and how this negotiation process is going to work. Honestly, the wrong way is to be demanding. Here's 800 things wrong with this house. This house is awful. The only way I would ever consider living here is if you fix all 800 things. That's the wrong way. That's not a negotiation. That's you telling the seller, you don't want this house. And if I'm the seller, I'm like, I don't want you buying this house, because if you're this demanding and overbearing in this part of the negotiation, what's the rest of it going to be like? So be very careful. The right way to approach it, in my opinion, is common ground approach. Meaning, hey, we love the house. The inspection came back and there are some things that are concerning. So we want to figure out how we can get those addressed. There were other things that were more cosmetic and things that we can take care of, and we're happy to do that. But we really need to sit down and try to talk about these things and see how we can get these things resolved. That makes it feel like you're moving forward in the process. You're being fair about it. You're not being overwhelming or demanding, and that there's common ground for the seller to feel like they're winning and for you to get what you want. So it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. So make sure that you use a blended approach of, hey, I need these things addressed. We're super excited about the house. There are some things we're willing to take care of, but we need you guys to step up on these things. You'll get a lot further, and honestly, you'll get a better buy if you approach it that way. Now, I do want to throw a couple of things out and a couple of strategies that you can use that I consider more of a winning formula. And I want to read these notes a little bit because I don't want to miss one. Step one is acknowledge with positivity. Kind of like I said, we love the house. We need these things addressed. We're willing to do this. Number two, categorize the request by severity of problem. Meaning, if it's got some safety issues, start there. Hey, the HVAC doesn't work and it gets 130 here in Texas. We need that addressed. Obviously, start there and work your way down to major repairs needed, like the roof or water heater, and then down to the minor items like cosmetic. That could be flooring, that could be paint. 3, make a clear and reasonable request. Keep in mind, I said it before and I'll say it again. The goal of this negotiation is to buy the home that you want to purchase, that you thought enough of to put an offer in at a fair market price in the state that it's in. So many buyers miss this and mess this up. And they blow deals up because they feel like they can demand everything. That this paint doesn't match that paint, or that this isn't up to code. Well, guess what? When the house was built, that was the right code. And it's not necessarily, unless it's a safety concern, it's not the homeowner's responsibility to bring the home up to code. They've lived in it for 5, 10, 20, 50 years, and it's not been a problem. So keep in mind what you're asking for. Make clear and responsible requests. And then 4, show them you're ready to move forward if y'all can come to terms. I have seen more deals blow up and more buyers actually lose out on a great opportunity to save thousands because they fought over dumb stuff. It's not worth that. It's not worth fighting over the paint color in a room or the removal of wallpaper that looks like 1960. I get it. You don't like it. I don't like it either. It's not worth blowing up a great investment opportunity. More importantly, a great place for you and your family to live over something that probably could be resolved for a couple $100. Be smart about how you ask. Be smart about what you ask. And be reasonable in the negotiation. Hey, in your negotiation, one thing to always remember, timing matters. Don't wait till the last day to dump a bunch of requests on a seller. You've got your option period. That's what it's designed for. But be courteous and be smart about it. Give the seller 24 to 48 hours to mull over what you're asking. If you give them time, I think you're going to get a favorable answer. Just don't wait till the last hour of the negotiation or of the option period to then dump a bunch of stuff and expect them to be excited about it and willing to help. It's just unrealistic. So the last thing I want to talk about today is you're in a contract, you got an inspection, you're renegotiating your inspection, the price or the repairs because of the inspection. How to read the response. You've made the ask. Now, how do we read the response coming back? You can learn a lot about the seller and their motives and how motivated they are by the timing in which they respond. One response you might get is yes to everything you ask. Well, that's a motivated seller. And my suggestion to you is take it and run. Head to the closing table. Not very likely. We don't see it that often. But if somebody's super motivated, then maybe you might get that. The other one is, here's what we'll do. This is known as the counteroffer. They're going to come back and say, well, we'll do a little of this, but not that. And that's more common. But keep in mind when they say that, really what they're saying is we're opening the negotiation at this point. Nowhere do they come back, and most times they don't come back and say, we'll do this and only that. They're just kind of opening the negotiation. Then it's your turn to go back and say, well, it's really important that we get these things fixed. That's not everything you agreed to. So the negotiation starts, the back and forth starts. Be courteous, be kind, but make sure the safety issues get covered. That's number 2. The third one is the one none of us like to hear, no to everything. No to everything means this. They're not real motivated. They don't have to sell. They don't really maybe want to sell. They were just testing the waters. My suggestion when that happens, when they say no to everything, make one more counter offer. Pick the 2 or 3 things that are most important to you Go back and say the only way we can move forward, we love the house, we want the house, but the only way we feel like we can move forward is if these 3 things are addressed or these 2 things. Make one more counteroffer and see if they accept. If they don't, then move on. Or if you just were throwing a bunch of stuff at them to see if you could get a little bit more and you're okay as is, you could do that as well. Probably not likely. Very few existing homes don't need something done. And keep in mind, I said earlier, it needs to be a win-win for everybody. It needs to be a win for you. And it needs to be a win for the sellers. So see if they're willing to negotiate. And if they're not, then maybe it's time to move on. Reading between the lines, fast response always indicate a motivated seller. A slow response or delayed response means one of 2 things. Either they didn't know about the repairs that were needed, and they're a little embarrassed by them, or maybe they're just trying to buy some time to see if other offers come in. That's always a possibility. If they come back and ask for more time, they'll typically give you a reason. Hey, we have multiple family members involved in this decision. I need to get with them. Try to be honoring within reason of that. I will tell you more times than not, you win in those situations if you just allow that time. If you feel like they're just stalling just to stall, they're just not that motivated. And then you have some decisions to make. When is the time just to cut bait and walk away? Because that will happen. You're going to find this home and you're going to try to start this negotiation over these repairs, and it's just not going to work. And so when do you know when it's time to walk away? Let me give you this exactly. When major structural issues are present and the seller will not negotiate, walk away. Don't buy somebody's limit of a house. When there's safety hazards and the seller refuses to negotiate, don't put your family in harm's way. Walk away. When total repair costs exceed your budget, even when they're willing to negotiate, it's not the right house. You need to walk away from that. And the last but not least, when your gut says something's not right here, it's normally right. Even if you can't put your finger on it and say, this is the reason, it's time to walk away. So in recap, you have a small window of opportunity. The only additional time you'll get to renegotiate a sales price or closing cost or renegotiate the structure of the deal is in that 3 to 7 day period. Don't do what a lot of buyers do and mess it up. You've got great opportunity here. Be smart about what you're doing. Understand what your options are. Understand what's realistic within the market and ask in the right way, and be willing to walk away if it's really not a good deal for you and your family. Super important. You can win in this situation. We're here to help you win. If you have any questions about any of this, please reach out to us. Reach out to the team at Crosspoint Home Loans if you want to. Reach out to your mortgage professional. Ask the questions. Lean on your realtor's expertise. They do this every day. They help walk buyers through these negotiations. Until next time, please subscribe to our channel. We would love to keep presenting things like this and giving you great information about the home buying process. And as I've said 100 times, if there's anything we can answer for you, any questions you want to ask, reach out to us. We're here to help.